Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight, just a few weeks after the police force got a new chief, the Royal Bahamas Defense Force now has a new Commodore. Over 1,000 seeking to return to the Family Islands, plus a man charged with murder.
Our news is brought to you by Alive.
Welcome to Our News and thank you for joining us. I'm Kyle Joaquin. Topping news tonight, the Royal Bahamas Defense Force now has a new Commodore. Dr. Raymond King officially took command today, becoming the 8th commander of the Defense Force. Jasmine Brown reports.
King, who has been acting Commodore for the last several months, was confirmed to the post after a brief ceremony this morning. King, a more than 30-year veteran on the force, takes over from TELLIS BETHEL, who will take up a position at the Ministry of National Security. The new military chief had been acting in the capacity of Commodore since October 2019, while BETHEL remained on leave. Governor General C.A. Smith presented King with his instruments of appointment during an indoor ceremony at the Coral Harbor base. King thanked the Ministry of National Security for trusting him to guide the force during this pivotal period and outlined key priorities for a professional and high-performance workforce.
I employ the members of this prestigious organization to conduct themselves professionally at all times and to multiply the high level of energy and passion demonstrated thus far towards the continued accomplishment of our strategic objectives of protecting our borders, territorial integrity, and sovereignty.
As outgoing Commodore BETHEL said his goodbyes, he insisted it was an honor to have worked alongside all the men and women of the force and thanked them for their shared accomplishments over the last 5 years.
As this chapter in my life draws to a close, I can honestly say that it has been a profound honor and a privilege to have served alongside the men and women of the best little Navy in the world, for whom I have highest regard, whether in the air or on land or on the high seas.
National Security Minister Marvin Dame said earlier this week BETHEL would be transferred to his ministry in a senior position, though he did not say what BETHEL's new duties would entail. During the ceremony, Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis thanked BETHEL for his dedicated service. He also congratulated the new Commodore for taking over during extraordinary times.
As the nation is still in the reconstruction phase of Abaco, Keys, and Grand Bahama, after one of the most powerful hurricanes ever to hit our region, the country will rely on your experience, your commitment, and your leadership during these extraordinary times.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Jasmine Brown.
Over 1,000 people have made inquiries about travel to the various Family Islands following the Prime Minister's announcement of preparations to resume inter-island travel. Ministry of Health consultant Dr. Merceline Dalregis addressed questions regarding Family Islands, which haven't been able to resume commercial activity while others have. She said residents on those islands expressed concern about others coming in.
Many on the local team are asking us to phase in because of the traffic that is occurring on island, particularly from pleasure vessels. So we use that guidance and we are planning that if these measures remain or impact the no new cases for a further period of time, that we would certainly recommend that they be considered for reopening.
On Sunday, Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis suggested a goal to have the country reach Phase 5 by July 1st. But with the country still in Phase 1B, this would mean 4 phases in roughly 5 weeks. Dr. Dalregis was asked whether this is achievable.
Only the Prime Minister will be able to answer that. But I say to you that given the trajectory we're having now, given the number of new cases or the low number of new cases, the decrease in COVID hospitalizations, the decrease in the number of ICU beds, The system is performing well.
There are no new confirmed cases. The total number remains at 97. 1,910 tests have been conducted. It's been 15 days since the last confirmed case of COVID-19 on Grand Bahama and 3 weeks since the country recorded a COVID-related death. Meanwhile, health officials are still having a hard time locating 13 to 15 people who were placed on home quarantine.
We have their names, but we don't have the contact numbers, the telephone numbers for them. And that has been the challenge. And it still hovers between 13 and 15.
Well, 59 Bahamians and residents who were stuck abroad arrived in New Providence this afternoon. The residents were transported by bus to the government-monitored quarantine facility, where they will undergo an assessment by health officials who will determine whether they will be allowed to quarantine at home or at the facility.
Their evaluation includes some more extensive probing as to what they would have been doing, the contact history, any type of health issues they would have. We asked a little bit more about the home environment to ensure those persons we have identified for home quarantine meet the requirements if they had not at the point of time.
The National Emergency Management Agency has prepared an additional facility for those whose homes do not meet the standard for home isolation.
Once it has been decided that that person meets the quarantine for home, they are given a specific card that states they are cleared for home. They give that card to the security officer. The security officer then calls to the secure gate, and they have their persons allowed to come in. So the process is monitoring straight from the minute they get off the plane to them leaving this secondary site. In
other news, a 22-year-old man was charged with murder in the magistrate's court today following a recent shooting incident off COWPEN Road. Georgia Bain has more.
Officers of the Central Detective Unit brought 22-year-old Perez Cuff of Gladstone Road to the magistrate's court Thursday afternoon to face murder charges. Cuff was charged with the May 12th murder of Richard Bain and the attempted murder of Thorio Ferguson on the same date. According to police reports, officers received information of gunshots in the Haitian village off COWPEN Road shortly after 7:30 that night. Upon arrival, officers were informed that two men were seated in the front of a residence when they were approached by a male armed with a handgun, who shot both men before fleeing on foot. Bain was pronounced dead on the scene, while Ferguson was taken to a local hospital. Magistrate Samuel McKinney informed Cuff that he was not required to enter a plea to the charges and that his case would proceed by way of a voluntary bill of indictment. McKinney also told Cuff that he has the right to apply for bail in the Supreme Court. Until such time, he will be remanded to the Bahamas Department of Correctional Services until August 14th, when his VBI is expected to be ready for presentation. Reporting for R News, I'm Georgia Bain.
Progressive Liberal Party leader Philip Davis delivering a scathing review of the Minnis administration days ahead of the 2020-2021 budget communication. According to Davis, the government is filled with dysfunction and division. Berthany McDermott reports.
Opposition leader Philip Davis is blasting the state of leadership in the governing party. During his pre-budget statement last night, Davis said that in the face of challenges like climate change and a global pandemic, the Minnis-led government has a leadership deficit.
You are going to hear a lot about fiscal deficits in the coming weeks. But what I see is a leadership deficit. A strong leader would tell you the same old isn't going to work for us. Instead, we have the Prime Minister telling people yet again they are going to have to sacrifice.
Addressing the World Health Assembly this week, Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis said COVID-19 destroyed the Bahamian economy. But that's not all it did. Amid the crisis came the resignation of former Health Minister Dr. Dwayne Sands, who took responsibility for 6 permanent residents entering the country while borders remained closed to hundreds of Bahamians. This resulted in Minnis taking over the health portfolio. Looking back at the destruction caused by Hurricane Dorian and the adverse effects of COVID-19, Davis said challenges like these require creative thinking. However, he said government can cooperate with itself.
This misstepping, backtracking, fumbling government has been something to behold. Division and dysfunction when we need coherence and competence. People want policies that are based on science and common sense. Instead, everyone's worrying that decisions are being driven by politics and inside access.
Davis again questioned why some family islands were allowed to resume commercial operations while others in the same position were not. He called on government to fix this.
Why are some islands with zero COVID cases open for business, but others in the same position are not? Don't look for an answer from the health officials. They told us. They have no idea why. So why are the people of EXUMA, Eleuthera, and San Salvador being prevented from earning a living, being with family, putting their lives back together? We need to fix this, and fix it now.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Berthany McDermott.
All right, thanks, Berthany. Still to come, meet the Bahamian who became the first Black Princeton valedictorian. Stay tuned.
COVID-19 is an infectious disease caused by a new coronavirus introduced to humans for the first time. It is spread from person to person, mainly through the droplets produced when an infected person speaks, coughs, or sneezes. These droplets can land in the mouths or noses of people who are nearby. These droplets are too heavy to travel far in the air. They only travel approximately 1 meter and quickly settle on surfaces. This is the reason person-to-person spread is happening mainly between close contacts. The exact time that the virus can survive on surfaces is not yet known. So it is wise to clean surfaces regularly, particularly in the vicinity of people infected with COVID-19. Hands touch many surfaces, which can be contaminated with the virus. You should therefore avoid touching your eyes, nose, or mouth, since contaminated hands can transfer the virus from the surface to yourself. When coughing or sneezing, cover your mouth and nose with the bend of your elbow or use a disposable tissue. If a tissue is used, discard it immediately into a closed bin. The most effective way to prevent the spread of the new coronavirus is to clean your hands frequently with an alcohol-based hand rub or soap and water. This will eliminate the virus if it is on your hands. Stay healthy and prevent the spread of COVID-19.
Royal Bahamas Defense Force Commodore Raymond King says a promotion exercise will begin on Friday.
Those promotions are forthcoming and it'll start as early in earnest tomorrow morning.
King declined to say how many officers will be promoted, but noted he has spoken with the National Security Minister and other officials about resuming the practice of biannual promotions.
I don't want to be too preemptive, but they will get something that is worthy. And what you will find is that you may look at the numbers at a snapshot and say, boy, that number looks a bit large. But when you consider the delay, if you take 3 years between a promotion exercise and you have a promotion exercise, say 600 persons, it only works out to an average of about 200 persons per year. And that is why I've proposed to the government, and the government is receptive to us going back to a biannual promotion exercise.
A Bahamian man who became the first Black valedictorian in Princeton's history expressed gratitude for the outpouring of support he has received. Jared Higgs reports.
Introducing 22-year-old Bahamian Nicholas Johnson, Princeton University's first Black valedictorian in its 274-year history.
It feels extremely empowering, particularly given the university's history.
We caught up with Johnson over Zoom just a day after he handed in his final research paper. The Operations, Research and Financial Engineering graduate says he was overwhelmed by the support he received, including congratulatory tweets from Michelle Obama and Oprah Winfrey. He's also proud of the recognition he received here in the Bahamas.
It makes me feel extremely proud, even more prideful to be Bahamian than I already am. I'm very happy to see such a positive response from the people of the Bahamas.
Johnson, who grew up in Canada, says the achievement is massive, especially considering the school's legacy of slavery. Princeton's first 9 presidents were slave owners, and many of its professors were too. Slaves were also auctioned off on the school's campus.
I will say that Princeton does deserve a significant amount of credit among its peer institutions in the United States. it has very much been a trailblazer in being very critical about its historical ties to the institution of slavery and doing its own part to ensure that these stories don't continue to be covered up.
Johnson will cross the stage in a virtual ceremony on May 31st. He expects his grandparents and other family members here in the Bahamas to be tuned in. And when he isn't tackling modern issues with big data, the 22-year-old says he dreams of summers spent in Smith's Bay, Cat Island.
I really loved staying there, having boiled fish, corned beef and grits in the mornings, and spending time on the water.
Johnson says it took a lot of sacrifice and commitment to achieve this historic feat. He had this message for young Bahamians.
Take the time to pursue your curiosity, pursue your passions, and really find what you really care about, and then have the confidence to pursue that passion to the greatest of your ability, and don't let yourself feel intimidated by spaces you try to enter that might be dominated by people who don't look like you.
Johnson's next step? He heads to MIT in the fall to start PhD studies in the same discipline. Reporting for Our News, I'm Jared Higgs.
All right, thanks, Jared. Still to come, the major parties dismiss rumors of political infighting. Stay tuned.
COVID-19 is an infectious disease caused by a new coronavirus introduced to humans for the first time. It is spread from person to person, mainly through the droplets produced when an infected person speaks, coughs, or sneezes. These droplets can land in the mouths or noses of people who are nearby. These droplets are too heavy to travel far in the air. They only travel approximately 1 meter and quickly settle on surfaces. This is the reason person-to-person spread is happening mainly between close contacts. The exact time that the virus can survive on surfaces is not yet known. So it is wise to clean surfaces regularly, particularly in the vicinity of people infected with COVID-19. Hands touch many surfaces, which can be contaminated with the virus. You should therefore avoid touching your eyes, nose, or mouth, since contaminated hands can transfer the virus from the surface to yourself. When coughing or sneezing, cover your mouth and nose with the bend of your elbow or use a disposable tissue. If a tissue is used, discard it immediately into a closed bin. The most effective way to prevent the spread of the new coronavirus is to clean your hands frequently with an alcohol-based hand rub or soap and water. This will eliminate the virus if it is on your hands. Stay healthy and prevent the spread of COVID-19.
You're watching Our News. Welcome back. Both the PLP and FNM chairman tonight defending their respective parties against rumors of infighting. Jillian Gray has more.
2 political ads circulating on social media are being shot down by both the PLP and FNM chairman. Both flyers call for the leader of either party to step down in favor of another person in the party.
That thing is all fake news. I don't waste time on nonsense.
We are together and we will be contesting as one united FNM to ensure at the end of the day that this wicked and conniving PLP will never come back.
This flyer, claiming to be from FNM members, states that party leader Dr. Hubert Minnis has brought shame and embarrassment to the party. It suggests that former Health Minister Dr. Dwayne Sands be the new leader. A similar ad, claiming to be a PLP ad, asserts that PLPs are in favor of Chester Cooper over Philip Davis and lambasts the current PLP leader, calling him damaged goods because of his connection to the former Christie administration. PLP Chairman Fred Mitchell said they are not concerned about the noise in the market, adding their candidates committee is on the move.
The Progressive Liberal Party has no concerns or worries. We know that when we looked at what just happened over the last 9 weeks, Dr. Minnis has eliminated his rival in the FNM. That was convenient to use the pandemic as an excuse to get rid of Dwayne Sands. That's fine by them, and they can do whatever they wish. But we have one leader and there's no issue with it.
FNM Chairman Carl Culmer said members of the FNM have always been able to freely express themselves without being victimized. He added that if the PLP were faced with the challenges of Hurricane Dorian and COVID-19, the country would be in a bad state.
They showed us over the many years that they've been in how they handle events. when you look at the oil spill in Marathon, and you look at the hurricane that was under their watch, persons suffered.
While both parties say they are gearing up for an election win in 2022, some residents we spoke with said both the PLP and the FNM have a lot to work on if they think they're going to be the next government.
I am not voting for no FNM government next 2 years.
Who would you vote for? Would you vote for PLP government? You think
for
they would
God.
be any better? You voting for God?
I vote for God, because only him can clear this mess we are in now.
Fish man don't call it fish stink. But they've all had their chance, and they've all done some good things, and they've all done some bad things. So I would say to you, in my mind, it's a 50-50.
A partnership between the Bahamas Red Cross and Grand Bahama Port Authority will offer much-needed economic assistance to small businesses on Grand Bahama affected by Hurricane Dorian. 80 qualifying businesses will receive small business recovery grants of up to $6,000 each to assist with reopening their doors and maintaining employment for Grand Bahamians. Port Authority President Ian Rhodes said following Hurricane Dorian, hundreds of businesses were forced to close their doors due to the level of devastation. SBR grants will assist qualifying businesses in their rebuilding efforts. Applications are available on the website www.sbrgrants.com. Still to come, a look at EXUMA'S economic slowdown. Stay tuned.
COVID-19 is an infectious disease caused by a new coronavirus introduced to humans for the first time. It is spread from person to person, mainly through the droplets produced when an infected person speaks, coughs, or sneezes. These droplets can land in the mouths or noses of people who are nearby. These droplets are too heavy to travel far in the air. They only travel approximately 1 meter and quickly settle on surfaces. This is the reason person-to-person spread is happening mainly between close contacts. The exact time that the virus can survive on surfaces is not yet known. So it is wise to clean surfaces regularly, particularly in the vicinity of people infected with COVID-19. Hands touch many surfaces, which can be contaminated with the virus. You should therefore avoid touching your eyes, nose, or mouth, since contaminated hands can transfer the virus from the surface to yourself. When coughing or sneezing, cover your mouth and nose with the bend of your elbow or use a disposable tissue. If a tissue is used, discard it immediately into a closed bin. The most effective way to prevent the spread of the new coronavirus is to clean your hands frequently with an alcohol-based hand rub or soap and water. This will eliminate the virus if it is on your hands. Stay healthy and prevent the spread of COVID-19.
EXUMA, always known for a strong tourism product, saw that business dry up overnight due to COVID-19. Jerome Sawyer takes a look.
Normally, the hotels, beaches, and businesses in EXUMA are bustling with tourists this time of the year. But approaching 3 months into the COVID-19 shutdown, and the island is a ghost town. Taxi driver John Nixon has lost his entire livelihood.
Actually, no flights coming in, so there's no tourists. You find a lot of taxi drivers, their vehicles are parked, and there's really nothing to do on the island. Even individuals who are on the island who would normally catch a taxi, they can't even afford to catch a taxi because they're not working.
And most of the businesses here are also heavily reliant on the tourist dollar.
You know, they didn't have 3 months or 4 months or 6 months reserved. So literally, it was devastating on these small businesses.
Chief Counsillor Godfrey Gray says while it's been manageable up to now, he doesn't know how much longer they can hold out.
You find that if we have to go for maybe another month, we'll probably have some local small businesses that would be complaining about, having to lay off staff, not making sufficient funds, so they have to close their operation down.
In the meantime, those businesses that are able to have had to pivot. The only revenue source for a small hotel like EXUMA Palms is a restaurant and bar that's open for takeout.
So that has been able to sustain us, obviously in a reduced way,
but we've been able to keep all of our employees on staff for the duration, on reduced hours, but they've all been able to sustain themselves. So it's not been easy.
Reporting for our news, I'm Jerome Sawyer.
Well, as government begins to ease restrictions, the team at Baha Retreat says when the spa is allowed to reopen, things will be a whole lot different.
All of our services, touch services, we wear gloves. But of course, we had to up our game some more, so we're wearing the mask and the face shield.
It's a service that requires a lot of touching. Getting a massage, hair, or nail services will be very different once spas and salons are allowed to reopen, especially at Baha Retreat, where all of those services are offered.
What we plan to do when they announce phase 3, considering that salons is in phase 4, again, there's no particular category for spas, right? Then we will send out our notices to our clients, letting them know what measures that we've put in place, what are the expectations.
Some of those measures include 9 motion-censored hand sanitizing stations, as well as masks. Patrons can bring their own, or they will be provided for them. But your usual pampering will be a bit different. For one, the magazine stand or basket you're used to seeing, gone.
She's, of course, wearing her PPEs. She's wearing her gloves, her face shield, and also her KN95 mask to give her the best protection that she can get. From they walk into the door, first of all, it's going to be standard for them to wear a mask, and automatically when they come in, it's going to be required that they sanitize their hands.
Spa Director Kenya MORTIMER-MCKENZIE says employees take part in weekly training meetings via Zoom and have even gotten special certification. But things can get a bit challenging for certain procedures like body sugaring and the bamboo fusion massage that uses warm bamboo sticks with gloves on.
No services that we offer, no service we offer will be with bare hands. Okay. All right? And that is an adjustment because we do a very difficult treatment called eyebrow threading. This service is not just a luxury item for these clients, it's a necessity. Many clients struggle with a condition called hirsutism, where they have abnormal amounts of hair growth on areas where they don't want it, like facial hair. So we have clients who are growing full beards right now, right? And if they were to shave the hair on a regular basis, then the pores can become infected and then end up with folliculitis.
Wait times will be a thing of the past, as it will be appointments only with only a certain amount of patrons in the building at a time. Kinsey says given the number of cases and how the country has handled the pandemic, she doesn't see why spas have to remain shut right now.
Considering what we know already and based on how we've been able to manage the cases in the Bahamas, I think it's safe for us to be open. In this industry, we've been trained how to deal with infectious disease. Of course, COVID-19 is new, and so all around the world, we have to step up our game. Fortunately for us, 1 week before the shutdown, we started putting certain things in place.
Thank you for joining us for Our News Tonight. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Kyle Joaquin. Join us tomorrow morning at 9:30 for Our TV's live broadcast of the Service of Remembrance for Hurricane Dorian victims on Abaco. You can tune in right here on Channel 212 or Our News Facebook page. Stay tuned for a brand new episode of On the Record with host Jerome Sawyer. Have a good evening, Bahamas.